We are champ. Perfect. That is champ. Everybody, doesn't matter you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Christian, Muslim, atheist, Hindu, whatever your religion or practice, we all need housing. Yes, housing is a human rights. This crosses party line, crosses religion belief, crosses any belief. And yes, housing is human rights.
HUD, public housing, and essential federal housing programs are not just budget cuts. They're a direct assault on over 1 million New Yorkers. We're talking about families, seniors, veterans, our neighbors with disabilities, our loved ones living with HIV, those seeking safety and fleeing from abusive partners, our neighbors who've overcome homelessness, our families, our children. When the federal government comes for housing, they're coming for people's lives. But those most marginalized amongst us will feel it the fastest and most severely. We refuse to let these unelected billionaires and reckless politicians decide the fate of our homes.
That's right.
The administration is playing games with the life-saving continuum of care funding, putting thousands at risk. New York State relies on over $300 million in COC funding to keep people housed. Over $174 million of that in New York City alone. But after months of delays, nonprofits still can't access their funds. Why? Because HUD tried to sneak illegal contract changes on gender ideology, diversity, equity, inclusion, and say the words. Don't just say DEI. Say what they're against. They're against diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right? And say the words. Say the words.
Say the words.
Immigration status. Those contracts are pulled, but now no one knows where their funding lies. Nonprofits are running on empty. By April, they'll be forced to stop paying rent for tenants, putting people at risk of being on the street. This is unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
And to make matters worse, Congress, our elected leaders, recently passed a budget bill that slashes critical funding for housing programs, including 32,000 housing choice vouchers. Gone. $168 million from our COC programs, which helps vulnerable households stay housed, cut. $3.3 billion was stolen from HUD's Community Development Fund, wiping out essential resources. These aren't just cuts. These are evictions waiting to happen. There are shelters filling up. There are families forced on the street. This is not a budget issue. This is a moral issue. New York, like any other city, knows the devastation of when you cut HUD. Between 1981 and 1988, the HUD budget was cut by 3/4. An explosion of what we know in modern day homelessness has happened as a result of that. We are not going back.
We're not going back.
We're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back.
Let's be clear. This is by design. The federal government is proposing to gut HUD staff by half, close dozens of field offices, possibly leaving New York with no local HUD presence. They even cut grants for fair housing enforcement, erasing key protections against discrimination. Today, we stand in solidarity to declare that enough is enough. We are here to say, hands off housing.
Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing!
Housing.
And so to our policymakers in Washington, we are watching. To our elected leaders here in New York, fight for us. To everyone here today, continue to take space, raise your voice, mobilize your neighbors. This is not a moment we have to meet. This is a movement we have to sustain. Millions depend on it. This is our fight, and we will not back down. Because when we organize around our unifying principles, we win. When we mobilize our neighbors into action to demand more, we win. And when we fight,
We win!
when we fight,
We win!
when we fight,
We win!
Thank you, everyone. I just want to shout out everyone filling up City Hall Park, to the advocates here on a cold day. But we are fired up. And now I'd like to turn it over to one of New York's biggest housing champions, Rachel Fee, Executive Director of New York Housing
My name is Rachel Fee. I'm Executive Director of the New York Housing Conference. We're here today because the federal government is attacking the very programs that keep millions of Americans housed. Cuts to HUD funding and staff aren't just a budget savings. They are an assault on families, seniors, people with disabilities who rely on these programs to keep a roof over their heads.
Wait, let us speak. Let us speak.
Let's be clear, gutted HUD won't just push more people into homelessness.
People,
it
please.
will also create chaos in the housing market, stalling new affordable housing and driving up costs for everyone. Private lenders and investors are already pulling back because they don't trust an agency that's being dismantled from the inside out. We need Congress to step up and stop this reckless attack on housing. Fully fund HUD, protect the loan housing tax credit, pass the ASAP Housing Act. The time for action is now. Because housing can't wait, and neither can the millions of Americans relying on these programs. Thank you. Up next is New York City Comptroller Brad Lander.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, New York Housing Conference. Thank you, Supportive Housing Network, and all these incredible advocates. We're out here to fight, because housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Housing is a human right.
He's not gonna win.
Donald Trump's presidency is a con. He ran claiming that he would be looking out for working families, but what has he done? Eviscerated the services and the programs that working families rely on. And we are out here today to say working families are fighting back. We're fighting back for our housing, we're fighting back for our health care, we're fighting back for our education. Last week we saw Donald Trump and Elon Musk destroy the U.S. Department of Education. They've already wreaked havoc at the VA, denying health care to our veterans. And this morning we are out here because we are not going to let them come for the housing that millions of Americans rely on. We are not going to let it happen.
And then get the other side. Who's that? Who's that? Judy Romer. Judy in the first row. Love it. Judy is in the first row. Hi.
Hi, who are you from?
My name is Danny Martinez. I'm a LGBTQ homeless advocate and also a YouTuber. Tiny YouTuber, but I'm a YouTuber.
This is great. Thank you so much.
That's why I came on that side because it's important too. This lovely lady, say hi.
Hi. Thanks. So nice.
Wait, they show on the sun. No, it's the I think in English called the ray of the sun.
Yeah, the sun rays, the rays of the sun.
What do you call that in English? What do you call that in English? No, come. What do you call that in English?
I have no idea.
It's the sun and the line of the sun.
I have no idea. Sun rays, I think.
Sun ray, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me
Thank
see
you
that.
so much. This is great.
And she's with me right here.
Yay! Stop Doge. Stop Elon Musk.
Yes. How can I hear you? We're too far away. Because they're irresponsible. They are very irresponsible. They got thousands of police officers. Hi, how are you?
Where's ACQC besides you? You're not ACQC no more.
Can I see your eyes? Oh, the cutie right here. Hey.
Where's everybody? Where's ACQC? Nobody's here. I was here since 9 o'clock. I'm freezing.
I seen you after 1,000 years.
Who you work for now? How's it work?
I don't work for nobody.
Nobody, you're just doing this. Okay, alright.
But I do that for you too.
Got you. Oh, cool. Let me get
So-
on. Let me get on.
What do you want to say?
ASEN of Queens County. Hands off syringe exchange. Hands off housing. Thank you.
Why are you here?
I'm here representing ASEN of Queens County and the housing department for hands off housing, please. Housing is a human right.
But why you came in this cold? You don't mind?
Everybody deserves to be housed. I'm standing out here since 9 a.m. this morning, supporting the community and everyone else.
Wow, I'm proud of you.
Yes.
I'm proud of you because you've been in this
Thank
cold.
you
It's too
very
cold.
much. Thank you.
And you're representing thousands of people. You
Thank
know that, right?
Thank you.
Did you know that?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Well, that's the United States flag. USA. USA. Yes.
I am the Housing Committee of the Senate of New York State. I deal with housing in communities across this state. And I don't know of any community in this state that wants us to focus less on the affordability crisis that we're experiencing in housing than we have been for the last few years. I don't know of any community that thinks they elected Donald Trump or they elected Republican members of Congress from this state to have the federal government withdraw from the work of making sure everybody has a decent, affordable home to live in. We have, it's been mentioned, we have people, enormous numbers of people facing homelessness. We have enormous numbers of people in affordable housing that is in severe disrepair. But we also have enormous numbers of middle-class families, homeowners, people who thought that they were secure, who over time, that security has been undermined by dramatically rising housing prices, by rising energy costs, by lack of efficiency. We, in the prior presidential administration and in the state government and in our city government here in New York, have been working very hard to address that. If we have a federal government that thinks that they're going to get away with withdrawing for all those programs, they have another thing coming. New Yorkers and Americans are not going to accept reductions in this federal government's commitment to housing. We are here to deliver that message. We need to stop these cuts now. Thank you so much.
Is Brooklyn here? We have our very own Assembly member, Emily Gallagher, representing the neighborhoods of Greenpoint and Williamsburg.
Emily Gallagher.
Emily Gallagher, and I stand with you.
Emily.
Hi everyone, I'm Assembly Member Emily Gallagher representing Williamsburg and Greenpoint and Brooklyn, and we know that The federal government has been taken over. It has been taken over, and we have two things that we must do. First, we must continue to do this and show them that we are not falling for their bullshit. And that we are here to stand against them every step of the way. We have to step up every single time they tell us to step down. Because they are waiting for us to cower. And they are waiting for us to accept what they see as the future, which we will not accept. That is not our future. The United States will not devolve into an oligarchical state.
That's right.
We are democracy, and we show this by showing up. So first step we have done. Second step, the state must lead. The state has not been taken over. The state knows what New York needs. And we know that the number one need in this state is housing. It is the core of our public safety issue. It is the core of our health impacts. It is the core of everything, because housing is a human right, and it is the core of our society. So the state must step up, and we must pass the incredible bills that we have introduced, starting with HAVP, the Housing Access Senator Brian Kavanaugh and Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal for that amazing bill. Then we must pass the Tenants Opportunity to Purchase Act so that these private equity corporations stop gobbling up our housing and kicking us out so that they can make more revenue. Then we must pass my bill with Senator Cordell Clear, New York State's Social Housing Development Authority. This is a paradigm shift that says we don't need private equity and developers to build housing. We can build it ourselves. We have in the past, and it was successful, and we will again. This is the time for New York to show that it is truly the Empire State, that we can lead when others are falling behind. We will not fall behind Donald Trump. We will lead, and we will resist every single step of this.
All right, girl, you keep that there. All right, girl. All right, girl. All right, girl. You did that thing, mama. And Justin. How about that?
Housing Councilman Leader Rivera.
We say fight back.
We say fight back. We say fight back. Fight back. Fight back. Good morning. I just want to let people know that City Hall let 300 people in here right now. So let's not forget about that. This is how many people are going to turn out because of housing. Housing is the cornerstone. It determines almost everything else in your life. Yes. And if we come down on housing, if we make cuts, everything will get worse. It will exacerbate the healthcare crisis. It will worsen our education crisis that we are in. And all roads lead to a cruel and reckless federal government that is right now implementing and proposing cuts that are going to devastate low-income and moderate-income families. It is unacceptable, and honestly, it is small. It is unbelievable that anyone would come after the most vulnerable. And so what are these cuts proposing right now? Over 1 million New Yorkers statewide are relying on HUD programs for stability. They are at risk. It's not just Kings County and New York County. It's Monroe County. It's Dutchess County. It's Nassau County. It's Staten Island. That's right. Richmond County. Our neighbor will be here for a while. But I got to tell you, every single county, every family that is struggling is worth the fight. That's right. Right now we have over 500,000 people with housing choice vouchers. We have 9,000 people who are depending on the continuing of care. These are people who have already escaped homelessness, who are trying to get back on their feet. And when we see over $3 billion in cuts to the community development funds, when HUD is facing massive layoffs up to 84% of their staff, that is devastating. So we are here because I was a housing organizer.
Yes.
Rivera, Rivera.
Gracias. When we're fighting for units of housing on the Seward Park Urban Renewal area, when we're making sure that we're getting housing in the East Village on the old St. Emmerich site, locally, statewide, we have to keep fighting. We have families, veterans, people with disabilities who are afraid that their rental assistance is going to end as soon as April 1st.
Call it like it is. Call it like it
The
is.
federal government is going to put people in the streets. They are going to have blood on their hands.
That's right.
So we are saying right now that we will not stand for cuts and hands off our housing.
Hands off our housing. Hands off our housing. Hands off our housing. Hands off our housing.
I'd like to bring up our next speaker, who is a national representative and CEO from a national nonprofit, homeless service provider, low-income housing developer, Dan Lehman from Help USA.
Some things in life are complicated. This one really isn't.
That's right.
The homelessness crisis and the housing crisis in New York City and around the country have the same roots. There's simply not enough housing people can afford. Make no mistake, cutting HUD funding will hurt everyone. People who need housing, people who operate housing, people who build housing will all feel the pain. The supportive housing HUD funds, it's not a luxury, it's not a giveaway. It helps make sure that people who are homeless before don't become homeless again. It helps make sure the rent gets paid. It helps make sure new housing gets built. In a city with a vacancy rate of just over 1%, just over 1%, lowest ever, cutting HUD funds is the last thing we should be talking about. Solutions to homelessness and housing aren't free, but the costs of homelessness, of adults working full-time but who can't make the rent, of children who leave shelter every morning for school, then come back again that night, of people who make the move from homelessness to homes only to go back again. We know that all costs much, much more. That's not what we want for our city. That's not what we want for our country. So let's say it together. Hands off housing!
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 Thank you very much.
I'd like to bring up next a longtime advocate for healthcare and affordable quality housing, the co-founder and current president of the Health and Housing Consortium, Bonnie Mohan.
Good morning, New York!
Good morning!
I'm Bonnie Mohan, co-founder of the Health and Housing Consortium, and I am here to say, hands off our housing!
Hands off our housing!
The consortium was built on a simple truth, that our housing and our health are connected. When you take away someone's housing, you take a wrecking ball to the other aspects of their life. We are in the depths of a housing crisis, and DOGE wants to slash funding, cut staff, and send our communities into crisis. We say no way!
No way!
Housing is a human right. Let's say it.
Housing is a human right!
Cutting HUD means cutting rental support, cutting staff, cutting the lifeline that keeps families safe and stable. Without the workers, without all of you, the system crumbles. Without the funding, people suffer. And we know that's the point, right? But we do not have to sit down and take it. So today, we send a message. Hands off our housing, hands off our workers, and hands off our communities. Let's fight, let's organize, and let's win. Because when we fight,
We win!
when we fight,
We win!
It is my honor and privilege to bring
Stay home
better days. That hope came when supportive housing offered me a path to those better days. Think of your fellow New Yorkers one check away from being back in the streets fighting like I did. They could end up being the next ones you step over on the way to your job that is on the same precarious balance. They could be the next one that you smell on the subway in the car that you sat in to get to work. The dignity to thrive despite that is now another assault on me and someone else you know who could be destitute in the blink of an eye. This isn't the country I defended. The one I defended is the one that gave me a chance to figure it out. And now I'm here. We're here. I want the America that gives other people like me chances to thrive. So I trained to fight back as a Marine. Let's tap in. When they hit, let's fight back.
Yeah.
When they hit,
Let's fight back. When they hit, let's fight back.
Thank y'all so much.
Our next speaker needs no introduction. James, the housing hero.
Yes, Jam! Homeless hero.
Housing hero.
Hey, look, it's real simple. I'm not even going to be long because really I like the energy of the people. And I'm surprised, I shouldn't be, that we have a lot of people here.
Yes.
We have a whole lot of people over there.
Yes.
And we're all here together because we stand as one to say hands off housing. So
Hands off housing!
Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing!
Now I'm gonna be real quick, because it's not much to be said, but I will say this. Housing is a human right.
Yes.
That's on one level. For those of us that have the lived experience of being housing insecure and homeless, we know the dangers of that. Each year we see a lot of people who die by homeless. I see people who are checking out early because of housing insecurity and food insecurity. They can't take it no more. And all across the country, whether black, white, or whatever.
Republican, Democrats, anybody, affects everybody.
Everybody. We're all suffering from this housing crisis that plagues the country. And if we are in a situation where we don't center the need for housing, if we're in a situation we're going to cut housing and the funding for housing, that's not the right way to go.
No, it's not.
And I would warn the president and anybody else who is pushing policies that is going to deprive regular people of housing. I'm warning you.
Christian nationals.
Because one thing with me, I don't care if it's the city hall, if it's the state government, or if it's the federal government. I am the descendant of slaves. I know what your systems do to our people.
That's right. That's right.
I'm not no punk leader out here.
That's right.
I ain't no punk advocate out here.
There you go. I hear you.
And if I gotta raise up the people and flood the streets to force you to get it right, I'm gonna do it. I ain't here to play games.
Yes!
Housing is a human right.
Fight, fight, fight.
You better reverse your movements on housing. Hands off housing.
Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing!
I would like to bring up a world-renowned housing and human rights advocate, Rob Robinson.
Thank you. This is an incredible gathering here today. I've been on these steps many times, and I've never seen people on these steps the way I do today, and then the overflow crowd in the park. That's because our lives are at risk because of the oligarchy operating in Washington. I like to represent human rights as not as a defender, as an enforcer, right? There's a thought process in this country that human rights are something that's far away. Well, I've traveled to European countries, I've traveled to Africa, I've traveled to Brazil. They all believe in human rights. We stand by a flawed constitution in this country that doesn't guarantee your rights. It guarantees property rights over people's rights. So we need to stand up. If the founding document of the UN, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article number 25, guarantees that right. The International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights guarantees the right to a home. So I say to Doge, if you want to come out with your chainsaw, take a chainsaw to the Constitution that is flawed and has been flawed for 250 years.
That's right. That's right.
I will end by saying we don't learn about human rights in school. It's something that is a constant fight. And if we have to constantly stand on these steps, I am happy today because I was always put off by 2008 when our president took our tax money to bail out banks, and those banks started foreclosing and evicting us in record numbers. Right. And we never got up. We never got up and rose up and fought back. But I see something different today. I see something different happening around the country. So I applaud you all. I think we have to be here on a regular basis. And I challenge our elected officials to defend our position. Because housing is a human right.
That's right.
Housing is a human right. Fight, fight, fight. Housing is a human right. Fight, fight, fight.
Housing is a what?
Human right.
Fight, fight, fight. I would like. Sorry. we got some time, y'all. I would like to bring up our next speaker, Assemblyman Harvey Epstein.
Harvey!
All right, we hear you out there.
Yeah!
We hear you fight for housing as a human right. This is our movement. But we see what's happening in Washington doesn't represent our values.
That's right.
It doesn't represent what we believe. It doesn't represent what we fight for. But we are here in this moment to be part of the resistance. This is part of the resistance for housing as a human right. Part of the resistance for social justice movement. Part of the resistance for our future. This is an opportunity that we have. While the world is going in the wrong direction, we need to be that light that stands up for our belief systems. The light that believes in the future, that says that middle-income housing matters, that public housing matters, that rent-stabilized housing matters. We need to build and build more affordable housing to stand for New Yorkers.
That's right.
And whatever the federal government does, we're going to have to fight with them. But we're here in New York for a reason. We're here in New York with our values. We're here in New York to fight. This is the time to fight. To stand up and be together, to say that housing is a human right, to mean it, to act on it on our city level and our state level, and push our federal representatives to do the right thing. Are we going to fight, like Rob said, week after week after week for this right? Yes. Are we going to fight for housing as a human right?
Yes. Yes.
If we come together and fight as a strong community, we will resist what's happening in Washington and stand for what we believe here in New York, and we will fight together. Thank you.
I would like to bring up Nicole Branca, from CEO from New Destiny.
We provide housing for domestic violence survivors. I can't be any clearer than this. Housing saves lives.
That's right. That's right.
Housing
saves lives.
lives that they have left their homes, their communities, their belongings, their money, everything behind just to be safe, just to live. If we were to lose our HUD continuum of care contracts, we would not be able to find housing for these families. We would cease being able to pay rental assistance for these families. We would cease being able to provide the services that they need to heal and stay housed. This is not something we can afford to do.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
I was also coming today to talk to you about the emergency housing voucher program.
Come on.
Yes.
Yes.
But instead, I'm going to speak on behalf of one of the courageous women that we have. Her name is Daenerys. My name is Daenerys Espinel, a domestic violence survivor and a proud member of New Destiny's Survivor Voices Project. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men have experienced domestic violence in our country. Staying in an abusive situation can mean death. In New York City, 1 out of 5 homicides is domestic violence. Rental assistance provided by HUD can be life-saving for survivors and for the millions of individuals and families experiencing housing instability. I know this firsthand. I am one of the domestic violence survivors who got an emergency housing voucher, also known as EHV, a few years ago. The EHV program helped me and my 2 daughters flee an abusive situation. The EHV program helped me heal from my trauma. The EHV program helped me rebuild my life. I stand here today to wholeheartedly oppose the threats to EHV and all other federal housing programs. Without these programs, countless survivors will be forced to choose between entering the shelter system or going back to their abusers. I can't emphasize how dangerous that would be. It is critical for our leaders in Washington to hear this. HUD funding must remain intact. Hands off.
Hands off housing!
Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing! Hands off housing!
Someone said Housing Works was in the building. Is Housing Works here?
Yes!
I would like to bring up our next speaker, Andrew Bonfrancesco.
Oh,
Hello, everybody! Thank you
I
so
knew it
much
was
for
you.
coming today to put a spotlight on such a serious housing crisis. A cut to HUD is a death sentence for this population. In today's New York society, we have a flooded shelter system, and kicking those people out of this HUD housing will put this already stressed system in even more dire straits.
That's right.
that's right.
Housing is a human right, and in the richest country in America, or in the world rather,
That's right.
no person should be homeless. Not in America.
That's right.
That's what I'm critical.
And so I'm so proud to be here with everyone today.
And I'm proud of you
stand
too.
Against these cuts, to put a spotlight on this serious issue, and to act against all of these cuts, not just for housing, but for many different sectors that save and sustain care and treatment for HIV and transgender communities. These attacks, not just on HIV communities, but transgender communities, are unacceptable and not right. This is inhuman and abhorrent. And as I'm hearing more and more people speak out about this, I'm feeling more and more pissed off.
That's right.
This should not be. Not in America.
Not in America.
Housing is a human right.
Housing is a human right. Housing is a human right.
Thank you.
The United States speech.
When they say cut back, we say fight back, cut back.
Fight back. Fight back.
When they say cut back, we say fight back, cut back.
Fight back.
Cut back.
Fight back.
All right. Just checking y'all still awake.
All right, we are going to bring up our next speaker, Anna Luft from the New York Legal Assistance Group.
Good morning! I am so grateful to be out here today in community with all of you. Public housing and Section 8 keep New Yorkers afloat in a city where the rent has been too damn high for too
Yes,
long.
yes.
For the hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers in this city, the millions of New Yorkers across this state who rely on HUD, they know that the federal government can't slash its way to greater functionality, to safer homes, to more stable communities. DOGE doesn't know what public housing tenants need. You know who knows what public housing tenants need? Public housing tenants! Right, that's right. Public housing tenants know what public housing tenants need. And what they need are fully funded programs.
That's right. That's right.
There is not one neighborhood, not one community across this city that won't be impacted by these cuts. So we're here today to say, save Section 9.
Save Section 9.
Save Section 8.
Save Section 8.
Save supportive housing.
Save supportive housing.
Hands off housing.
Hands off housing. Hands off housing.
Hands up housing.
We are really grateful to have another champion from Albany here with us. The housing chairwoman herself, Assemblywoman Rosenthal, please.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here with all of you. I'm sorry we have such a large challenge, but are we up for the challenge?
Yes!
You don't just, use a chainsaw and cut off our community's access to housing assistance. That's what Trump, Musk, and their cronies are doing. They live in palaces, they live in mansions, but Trump especially doesn't care where New Yorkers live and wants to toss them out of their homes. So we're not going to let that happen.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. So we know that DOGE has already slashed HUD staff. You can fund a program and have no one there to administer it. That's really constructive eviction, they call. That really disables the program. And what are we here in New York going to do? Well, first of all, on the state level, there are many ways to be of assistance. One of them is a bill that I carry with Senator Kavanaugh called HAVP. Access Voucher Program, modeled on the very successful Section 8, and it would provide funding so that people who are unhoused and people who are on the verge of eviction get to have a home, get to stay in a home. You know who opposes that? The governor. You have to tell the governor this is our responsibility.
Yes.
We cannot let people throughout the state, it's not just New York City, throughout the state get assistance so that they live lives not of misery and fear, but productive and safe.
That's right.
And basically, we will pay for these people's care no matter where they live. And let's have some humanity.
That's right.
People housing and keep them in the housing. So that's number one. Number two, we have a fair housing program in the state, which Trump has cut. We are trying to fund it in the budget so that we can go after those who redline, those who don't want people of color or poor people in their buildings. We have to keep going after them. Right. We need TOPA. That's an opportunity to purchase that.
That's right.
Because there are many buildings that landlords have walked away from.
That's right.
And tenants can manage on their own. That's right. We need to have the mechanism to help them do that. And, in the budget we have let Mitchell-Lamas, which were created for moderate and middle-income people, to fall into disrepair like NYCHA. We can't let that happen. We have to maintain the stock, and we have to help NYCHA. I mean, we have to, and we also have to help Mitchell-Lamas. We also need Emily Gallagher's social housing.
Yes.
And that way, we will have a NYCHA that is truly for and of the people. And I look forward to working with her. I look forward to working with all of you because, as the sign says, as we know in our hearts, housing is a human right.
Yep. That's right.
Supportive housing is a human
Yep.
right.
That's right.
Everyone talks about, oh, get people off my block. Okay, some of them need supportive housing.
That's right.
So we need more money to develop them, to develop more sites. But more importantly right now, we need funding so they can run at top speed. And they need lots of funding. We're here to fight for it. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, we're getting the booth soon. I would like to bring up our next speaker, Marika Williams, Executive Director of the Association of Neighborhood and Housing Development. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Are you here with me still?
Yeah!
Are we here to fight still?
Yes!
We are here today because housing is a human right. But instead of funding solutions, Washington is funding cuts and slashes. And that's what we know. That's not what we need, and that's not what we want. When they cut housing, it's not just a housing cut. They cut our livelihoods.
That's right.
They cut our stability.
That's right.
They cut our health.
That's right.
They cut our education.
That's right.
And they cut our dignity.
That's right.
We are not letting Washington cut New Yorkers' dignity. That's right.
No way.
We are here to say we are calling on every part of New York City representatives and government. Where's our New York City Council to stand with us? Where's our New York mayor to stand with us?
That's right.
Where's our New York State legislature to stand with us? Many of whom are here. Where's our New York State governor to stand with us?
Right.
And where is our New York State legislators in Washington that need to stand with us? Everybody needs to be standing up because we're calling for save public housing.
That's right. Come on.
Save public housing. Save fair housing. Save public housing.
Save public housing.
We want to save fair housing.
Save fair housing.
We want to save Section 8.
Save Section 8.
We want to save supportive housing.
Save supportive housing.
We want to save affordable housing.
Save affordable housing.
We want to save senior housing.
Save senior housing.
We are here to save housing. All right, we have next Brittany McKenzie from Fair Housing Justice Center.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Listen up. Life, it isn't fair. But you know what is? Housing for all.
Yep. That's right.
Imagine a New York where no one is denied housing based on who they are. A New York where every individual, regardless of disability, race, color, gender, income, religious beliefs, and background, has the opportunity to live in a community of their choice.
That's
Or
right.
party lines.
Free from discrimination.
That's right.
Now imagine 57 years of all that progress gone. Fair housing organizations all across America fulfill the mandate to affirmatively further fair housing. And DOGE has come like the enemy to kill, steal, and destroy. No hope. No progress, no housing. Make no mistake. The current administration is intent on dismantling our rights. Our fair housing rights, our civil rights, and our human rights.
Who's that lady? Is that Judy Romer?
So develop downtown. Sam Miller worked with me at HUD for 20 years. To make sure that housing is provided, public housing gets funded, that Section 8 gets funded. All of this is vitally important. We are here to support you. I do want to give, because my members are traumatized. They're traumatized. They don't know from one day to the other. I give a shout out to Attorney General Tish James. They got him a 2-week reprieve. Some of our members who were illegally fired, hopefully they'll get back permanently. They can't go back to work because these people were hired for staffing shortages. They're new members. There are severe staffing shortages they were hired to fill. So we are here. So we are working as a union. Every tool that we have through grievances, organizing with our elected officials, Democrat and Republican. Because Democrat housing is not a partisan issue, it's a human issue.
Call it like it is. Call it like it is.
Everybody should be on the street. So I want to thank people, reach Secretary Turner, reach Doge, reach Trump, and say housing, HUD has to stay. I want to say, can we say, hands off HUD?
Hands off HUD!
All right. Thank you very much. Look forward to working with you.
We want Elon, their hands off our housing because we know housing is a human right. Yep. And again, when we fight,
we win!
When we fight,
we win!
When we fight,
we win!
Thank you so much, everyone.
You finished?
We're good.
What is the big sign? Not the big one. We got Milton. Milton Perez. What is that? It's the big sign. They took it out? Milton, voltea a ver para acá. The rally finished. The rally is over. Hi. See you.
All right, take care.
The rally is over. This is after the event is finished. People taking pictures and videos.